Hello and welcome back. In the last video, we talked about data input, creating the labels, a text box, a button, a little bit of styling, server-side styling, a little backside styling. We talked about how to handle button reactions on the server side, and then how to handle pushbacks and not pushback and authentic requests to the page, so original requests. In this one right here, we're gonna focus on style. We're gonna focus on the way that a page looks. Generally, what I like to do when I develop a page is I like to make it for my prototype. It doesn't look pretty, but what I'll do is I'll use tables and I'll put the stuff in the area that I want it to be. So this right here, my design team gets an idea of what I want, and they can just look at the design and go, okay, well, he likes this, he wants the header to look like this. It's not going to look like that. They're probably going to end up changing my tables to div tags and using CSS styling to make it look better, a little bit more reactive. But at least I can give them a shell and I can give them a visual. So that way, there, when I say, okay, guys, the project's done, the prototype's up, go ahead and make it look good. Before we go to beta, I need that this looks the way that I want it to. That's generally what I tell them, is that by the time we hit the beta testing, the products generally got, I'd say, about 75% of the graphics in the right location, and then we do a lot of touch up. And then during beta testing, we do more touch up on the graphics, and that's where we do all the bug fixing. And then we send it out for GL, or general release, whatever. We send it out to the general public, and we let them play around with it. And then we do post go live test graphics and debugging as well, which is really not that bad. As long as we follow the process and we handle it step by step and not get ahead of ourselves, it generally works well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to use tables to align the stuff to make it look good. And that's generally what I do. If you want to get more detailed, you look like you want to get into the graphic side, I would study up on CSS and div tags and HTML5, and then I'd actually honestly look on YouTube to watch some graphic artists talking about how they design different graphics for the websites. For me, as I said, I make it work. I make it look good. I don't make it look good. I make it work. I make it functional, and I make it look like what I have in my head, and then I send it off to them to actually take my brain out and put it on the paper. So, and then I let them use their creativity. One thing I learned in my life was that you don't have to know everything. You just have to know who knows what to do. So in essence, like companies like Walmart. Walmart's CEO doesn't know how to do all the graphic stuff, but he knows how to go out to the person, how to get the person to do the graphics that he wants. So you got to have a vision, but you don't have to be the one to do it. All right, so in this case, we're going to actually create a table tag. And then when I close the table tag, notice it automatically puts in the actual close tag. So that's open and closing the table, start and end of the table itself. Anything we put in the middle will pertain to that table. There is HTML5 and HTML guidelines where we can't put different stuff inside of here because it just doesn't go there. So if I put this here, it's going to tell me that there's an error somewhere in there. It says text. See, text is not allowed between the open and close element tags. So then I got to remove this, and that goes away. So inside of a table, there's different things. There's a table row UTR, and notice that makes close to. This tells the HTML to create a row, to start a row. And then there's TD, table define, in the middle, and that's going to define the cell. So the TD is an actual cell inside the table. Duly note that we're actually going to do hello world here. Note that the width and size of this cell is defined by the text inside of it, unless we use styling to define it otherwise. And we'll go into styling in a little bit. So I'm just going to save this, and I have the project already running. Do I? No, I already closed it. All right, so we're going to actually recompile and run this project, and we're just going to see the word hello world right here. The word's hello world. All right, so we can do inline styling inside the TD tag for just that cell, or the row tag for that row, or we can actually do style inside this tag right here, and that'll work for the whole table. So in this case, I just want to make this background aqua. So I'm going to put a style tag inside of here and go background color, go down to here, semicolon is aqua. Alright, and then we're just going to save this and come over here and refresh. And now you see the background change to aqua. So now we're going to add a second tag in this row. And duly note that with HTML, back in the day when we defined a table, like way back in 2019, the late 90s, early 2000s, when we defined a table, it would automatically put the borders in for us, or we would define the borders. Now when we define the word table, it just creates a spaced table for us, and it doesn't actually put the borders in. We would define the borders within here, or if we want specific row borders, or if we actually want cell borders. What I found for borders mostly easiest is to use the old style, tags, not the style tags for borders. So we're actually going to. So what I would do for borders is this right here. I do border equals 1 for yes, and then border. So just border 1 equals yes. Come back here, F5. Now you see we created a border around it. The difference between that and an actual style tag, we'll add a second row here, and we'll call this one world. Just actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 0. Save it. Come back here, refresh, and now you see that line in the middle. That's based on the old style tag of a border 1. And I do believe we can actually do the border color inside the tag as well. But if we do it now, instead of doing this, if we're gonna do a style tag, show you the difference. The style tag equals border, and then we'll go like this. You go, BORDR, like this. We're gonna actually do solid. Just create a basic solid space 1 pixel 1 px. So actually, let's do 2 px just for giggles. And then we're going to change the color over here to red. So there. Now we'll save that, run this, and now we're gonna see the gap inside the padding inside of here, and we don't have that one in the middle. So now we're gonna put just a box around. Take this out of here, and we're gonna put it only around this one right here. So there. So now this one's gonna be aqua, and this one's gonna have a box around it. See? So in this case right here, we're able to. And then we're going to put the style tag inside the row, save it. Now the whole row will have the red. Actually, give me a second here. Just take this out here. I do believe the border tag works in the TI in the row. Actually, no, the border tag. All right, so this border style doesn't work in the row. All right, because I only generally ever use it in just the table itself, or each individual cell. So now if we want to get that again, that whole entire thing, just do it up here in the table, and then that will always give us a completely round table. Even if we add a second row, do TR, and we'll add this again. So we'll have 2 rows. File save, F5. Now you see 2 rows, and the border stretched out to above the rows. So we can actually, using CSS K-style sheets, you can actually manipulate the rows and make them much better than just basic looking. See the white border? We can get rid of all that padding. We can set the actually I think it's what the heck was it? Border collapse this, and we're gonna say collapse. So border collapse. That should get rid of all that stuff in the middle. See how I just squeezed out all that stuff in the middle right there? So if you actually collapse the border, that's going to collapse the internal border and get rid of all that spacing for you. So that's just, there's a whole bunch of different CSS stuff that we could do with either inline styles, a style function, function up top, or a style sheet that will actually be imported. So in this case right here, we actually created 2 different rows. So now I'm going to show you really the way that I like to do things. So what we have with our original one is the input data tag, the text box there, this text box, the submit button, and then this text down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually format this quickly so that we've got 3 cells and that this centers amongst all 3 cells. And I'm going to do it using a table. So just give me 1 second. I'm actually going to talk my way through it. So what we're going to do is actually just going to create the table row, and then we're going to create the first cell, second cell. Boy, that didn't work the way I wanted it to because of this. All right, so first cell, second cell, third cell, and we're going to take this label, highlight it, click and drag. Oh, nope, you highlight this, click and drag this up to here. Then actually we're going to drag this with it. One thing that I've been a fan lately of is because labels are useless. That you can put stuff in between them, but it's not really useful. So what I just do is I get that and I just put a slash there, just to save all that extra space at the end with text. Same thing with text boxes. I don't really like that end text tag. I like to just do that, make my life a little easier. All right, so then we're gonna put this here, and as you see, we already did it with the button. The button already has that slash at the end. That's kind of stuff that I like to do. All right, so there goes that row. At the very end here, let's do the next row TR and TD because we only want this one, and we want to put this right here. We're gonna put this one down in the bottom here. Now I'm gonna show you. This is not gonna look right, but I'm gonna show you exactly what I'm trying to do. Gonna get rid of these BRs. All right, so I actually close the table / close table. Save it, come back here. Now what I want is I want this bottom label to center amongst these three. So when I hit F5, what happens? Oh, nothing's there. See that right there? See this break? Nothing's there because I've only defined 1, 2, 3 cells in the top row. 1, 2, 3. But in the bottom row, I've only defined 1 cell. So 1, nothing, nothing, nothing. So how do I get this to center amongst all these and continue that border? Very, very easy. Instead of putting in, we could go the real nasty way and do this and, do 2 more of those. But we don't want that because then this still won't center. That will just put 2 spacers and a border. Instead, we're actually going to use a style. I'm going to use a style tag. So with my actually, we're not going to use a style. Sorry, we're going to use a call span. Call span equals 3. So that's your column span. How many columns is it going to span? 3. So we'll say file save. Now we'll come back here. We're going to see that the border goes, but the text still stays where it is. So now the border came up. So now we need to get the text centered. There's 2 different ways to do that. We can actually use the style tag. The style tag equals, and then we'll go text align, center. Save that. Come back here. Now you see the text line centered. That's fine. Or we can get rid of this and go really, really old school and completely make our whole entire, our whole entire graphic arts team mad and use the really old school center tag. And I do this a lot just because, for simplicity, I like to do the center tag and just for simplicity. Now you'll see it's still centered no matter what. So file save, F5, and we still centered it. So we still have the background code, but all we did was we just added a table, we added 2 rows, and we just centered our stuff. So now we're going to space this out so it looks good because it's really cramped over here, and I'm not a fan of how cramped it is. So what I want to do is I'm actually going to use, I could use the width tag over here, the width, and the height tag, but I've found that lately in CSS they handle it better because I can use the percentages. You can still use the percentages in your width and your height tag too, but some browsers won't accept that as well as they would if we do it in the style tag. So I just say keep it simple, do it in the style tag. So in here I'm going to do the width, but I'm actually going to do it a percentage. Remember that your whole entire playing field from left to right is 100%, and we start off in the left top corner, we go to the bottom right corner. So 0, 0 all the way down to 1,000, 1,000. And then 100% width is from 0, 0 all the way to 1,000. So it's completely from one side to another. And I do believe that there's a natural 10 pixel padding or a 5 pixel padding that's just natural. We can actually use a location start of -1, -10 to go beyond that, to go beyond this way. But to go beyond this, we actually have to do 110%. So if I actually did with say 110%, we're gonna do this here, and we save it, and then F5. We're gonna see the resubmit form. That's fine. But you see, we go beyond here, but we still don't go over here. So if I do this, like the original I said was 75 75%. So save. We come back here, F5, resubmit that data, and now you see that we're at 75%. It's still kind of weird because it's all shifted to the left, so I want to center that. There is ways to center it using CSS. You know, even my graphic arts team agree with me that that the way that they do it with CSS is a pain in the butt. So in most cases, we'll still do this the old way for tables, just because it's easier. So what we'll do is we'll just use the center tag, Control X, come back here, get rid of that, and then we'll go to the end of the table and we'll hit set and we'll save that. So now when we submit it, notice that it's actually centered. But again, we kind of blew it all up. We messed the whole thing up. Now it looks completely horrible because we're just using the basic widths of the tag, and the basic width of that, and then the basic width of this, and so now that we've got the table to 75%, we centered the table. We really want to make it a little bit better. So we're going to push this over to the right. We're going to stretch this out to 100%, and we're going to center this button. So let's do that. So we're going to do this one right here. We're going to do a style and then equals text align, right? All right, so there's that. This one, we actually want to push this width to equal 100%. We can actually, inside of this, because it's a text box, I'll use the width tag. I can use the style tag as well, but for the most part, actually, I don't think you can use the style tag. I just use a width tag inside the text box anyhow. And then this one right here, we're actually going to want to do we're going to actually want to center this. So we're going to do style, style. I think this is align content center. Yeah, I think that's gonna actually help us right here. So save it there. See, it didn't actually center the button. So, but it did the 100% over here. See the 100%, and then for the button, again, because I don't like to argue or fight with it, I'm just gonna go old school with the center tag. It's going to give us the same results, and we don't have to fight with it. So there, now we got the input data all the way to the right. So in this case right here, just because the way that my bosses would definitely scream at me, put a space there, save. Now this here, now you see it's spaced out. Thank God. We got the whole width of this to be 100%. Okay, good. And we got the button centered. So when we change this text here, we can make it as long as we want. Bam! And this is automatically centered. Perfect. So there's that. Now we're going to actually want to put a line in between these two. So what we're going to do is in between those two rows, we're actually going to create another row and do another TD and do another call span equals 3. But in this one, we're going to put a horizontal rule. So that's HR for horizontal rule. And what that's going to do is that's actually going to give us the line that's right across the middle now to separate the two. So horizontal rules, as I said, I don't make it look pretty. I just give them the idea. By looking at this right here, they know what I want. They know that I want the input tag here. I want the centered, and I want that stretched for the text box. I want the submit button off of the text box over here. And then I want this side, and I want to separate it to look nice. So the next piece that we would do, that I would do, is this right here. And this is kind of something that I do for my team, and it kind of helps them out a little bit. So what I'll do is instead of doing an inline, I'm actually going to do a second one, and then I'll let them handle this however they want. And this right here is going to be where our logo would go, and then this right here is going to be where our menu. So our menu system would go menu. And that's going to be, and this is going to be on the actual desktop version. So in the mobile version, what I'll do is I'll do the logo stretched, and then I'll do another TR in this table, and then I'll do our menu system here for the mobile version. Actually, give me a sec here. So TD and then mobile menu. So this is what I'll do for them, and then when we actually run them together, we'll see that it's more like this without the red. But if I take the red styling itself, and I'm actually going to copy this and put it into this table, And now we have a double red line up top, and we're missing this right here because of the way that is. We can actually collapse the red borders on the bottom so that it doesn't work. But essentially, actually, wait, I know what I'm missing. Sorry, it should work. Okay, so call equals 2. Sorry, equals 2 there, and that'll do it. All right. So now there, see, it's a little bit of a thicker red in the middle. This right here tells them that I want the mobile menu down here and the logo up top, or I want the menu over here. We'll focus on the PC one for this one. So get rid of the mobile menu. So save, F5, refresh. There you go, logo, menu. Now the problem is that our menu is going to start way out over here, and our logo is over here. But sometimes what I want to do is I want the logo here, but I only want the logo to take up so much space, and I want a longer menu than this. I don't want the menu to start here. I want it to start right after the logo. So what I'll do, because this is the reason why I use the second table, because whatever we define in our percentages here is going to filter all the way down to the rows below it. So if I define 25% and a row below it goes beyond 25%, some browsers will either make that text wrap around, or the browser itself will actually push the percentages to 33% or whatever. It'll change all the rows to equal that. So what I do is I do a separate table for the header, and then I do this one, then I do a separate table for the footer. Yes, we can put them all in one, but at the same time, I'm much more comfortable doing this just to show them. And then generally when I get the code back, they've already replaced tables with tags, or they've done tables inside of tables, which, you know, is the way that I would approach it, of course, if I'm going to send it out. But just phonetically to show them what I want, I'll do stuff like this right here and just give them the outline. So what I'll do right here is I'm going to use actually a style tag and do the width of this to equal 25%. So I'll do 25%. And then I'll take that same style tag and I'm going to move it over to this TD right here. And I'm actually going to make this one 75 because remember, it's got to equal 100%. So what's going to happen is now menu gets moved over to here to the 25% line. And I still realize that 25% gives logo too much real estate. So then we can actually go ahead and play around with this. We can actually knock that down to 15 and this to 85. And we can actually, I'll just do another refresh, and we'll see how it moves. Come on, all right. Actually, get out of there. So stop, refresh, because I was getting sick of that form data. And now you see that it's right here, and we'll cut this down to 10, so we can see it in real time. 10, and then we'll change this to 90. Where did you go? Oh, turn my number locks off. 90. So file save. Then over here now when we watch it, we're going to come up to around here. Yeah. See, we just moved this. So now we can actually, because we use the separate table here than this bottom one here, we can still have this line right here. So this is cell 1, cell 2, and cell 3. This is cell 1 and cell 2 from here all the way out. So that's cell 2. So we can actually, because I use the separate table, I can control different rows. I can kind of do the same thing. So now if I really want to get funny, I'll do this right here. What I'll do is I'll do this. We're going to comment this out here. Comment that out. That's perfectly fine. And we're going to go tr, td, get rid of these. And then we'll come down to here and slash table, sorry. And then what we're going to do is this one right here. We're actually going to call span equals 2. So what I'm doing is I'm taking this table right up here with the logo. I'm actually creating another row, another cell that it spans two spots the whole, and then I'm putting the table inside of there. So it's going to actually look a little different. We're going to get rid of this line in the middle, the thick line. And now you see that right there, because this table itself has an actual outline. So we have a border on this table, but not the inner table within. So in this case right here, we still have our 75%. We still have our 2, but this one right here only 75% of the full. So what I would do is just over here for this width. Now remember, when you use the table inside of a table, 100% is the percent of the parent cell, not the parent table. So if the parent cell, now watch somebody use it, I'll show you what I mean. So here, we're going to change this to 100%, and that's going to stretch it all the way out to 100%. Good. Now, if I get rid of this call span to 2, and I change that to call span 1, 100% is only going to be over here. So when I F5 it, now you see 100% is over here, because that 100%, when I use a table within a table, this 100% gets the width inherited by the parent cell. So because the cell call span, the cell is 2 all the way over, which there's only two columns in this whole entire table. Because I'm changing the column span to 2, this is going to be 100%. 100% is going to be 100% of the cell, not the table. So now, there you go. So there, we got that looking good. And now we're going to add a footer. So what I'll do for the footer is just down here, I'll define another row. And then remember that we still have 2 in the parent table. We have 2 columns. So again, I'm going to do my call span equals 2. And then this one's going to be footer and ampersand copy. It was and copy J. So all right. So now we're going to put this up here. And the and copy is a cool little trick. That puts the C in there. So that way there I don't have to worry about putting the C circle and making it look weird. And copy is short code for putting that in there. We could do NBSP2, so and. So I could do like J, the and sign, non-breaking NBSP, non-breaking space, and what that's going to do is J with the space. This is kind of the way that we can actually get extra spaces in there if we want to put extra spaces in. So now there. So then again, down here with the footer, what I like to do for the footer is I like to align the content to right, because the footer down here, the copyright down here, I find it's just more appealing over here, and the phone number and stuff is generally over here. So in this case right here, what I would do, I'm going to actually show you the phone number and then the footer itself. So we'll actually do this one, TD. So the phone number is going to be, 111-555-12345. So there. Perfect. All right, so that's the phone number. Call us. And then this is actually going to be our copyright. So in this case right here, we're going to use the style text align again. Right. And then bingo. And now we're going to come back here, F5. And we'll see that the copyright's now over here, but the call us are over here. Now here's another good point right here. See how call us has now doubled, because when we set the first width over here to 10%, we said that 10% on this row no matter what. And in the Internet Explorer over here, actually Internet Explorer, that one, yeah, Microsoft Edge, Internet Explorer does the same thing. They will just text wrap and keep going in the text wrap. They'll never adjust that 10%. So this is luckily one of those browsers that doesn't do it. So what I would do in this case now is I would actually, this is kind of where it gets a little bit fun. In this case, because the logo, the menu doesn't need to be that big. If I have problems with the logo, I'm going to adjust this to 20 and knock this down to 80 and see what that does. And now there we go. We're good. Because the menu, because I noticed that if the menu stops around here, we don't want that. We generally want to give the menu 100% and put the spacing between the logo and the menu. I find will make the logo a little bit bigger to fit. Again, that's all up to the graphic arts team. We let them take care of that. I just give them a phonetical layout like this and say, and say, this is what I want it to look like. Make it work. Now go and make it look pretty. So generally what they'll do is they'll collapse these borders here. They'll come up here and they'll go, I'll take this out. Border collapse to somewhere around here. They'll then come in, collapse these borders, get rid of that, get rid of this, get rid of that, make it look good, change the font, change the colors, and and then by the time they're done and they send it back to me, I have a product that works good, that it works perfect, it does everything I need to do, and it looks damn good because they've done it. One other small little issue too. I'm going to show you actually another thing about tables that I like to do, and I actually worked on this one. So we're going to create a table. Now we're going to create a row, and we're going to create a cell, and then we're going to create another cell. So now this cell right here is going to have this with the break, this with the break, this with the break. All right. So that's got 3 rows. This cell is going to have 1 row, right? So now, get back, stop it. File save. Now the way that I would imagine this table is that I want the 3 rows here, then I want this 1 row up top here. Absolutely not. There's our 3 rows there, and the 1 row is actually centered in the next cell over. So again, I'm going to give it a border, so this way here we can actually see it a lot better. And all right, so there's that. Oh no, that's not what I want to do. That's why are you doing this? Why must you be like that? There. All right, so now we're going to give it a border. Now we can see that the second row is short. So where would we use this instance, and where would we run into this? We would run into this right here if we're putting like say a long list on the side, and then we're actually putting an object in the next table over. So say we have a list of links here, and then we have text here. We'll see that the links, because the links are so long and the text centers in the second one over, we don't want that. We want the links to go below the bottom of the page, but we want to keep the text up at the top. So that way there, when somebody does scroll down, the text stays at the top. When we change a new link, the text is still at the top. So one of the things that we're going to use is we're actually going to use vertical alignment. So we're going to use a style tag. So style, we're going to use vertical align, and we're going to say top. So our vertical align top tag actually will move this to the very, very top. See, now it's up top. So now no matter how long this list gets, that'll never leave the top. So if I copy this, and I'm going to paste it again, and we're going to do it here, we're going to do it here, we'll do it a bunch of times, why not? And there you go. See, that never leaves the top. Now if I actually remove that vertical align top, I'm going to get rid of it, save it, you'll see that this now moves down to the center. Again, centers vertically. So that vertical align top actually is a very, very, very quick way to help us solve that problem. So that's kind of another thing that I like to do is use the vertical align in the tables. So this way here, all I'm doing is vertical align top instead of having to go tr, dot 1, 2, 3, 6, or, define a specific class for this one cell. In CSS, you'll find that you'll do a blanket for a tr, and that'll go to all table rows or all table defines, every single one throughout the whole page. And then for each individual table, you'll have to define it yourself, or each TD you'll have to custom define it, and you may have to create its own identifier, and that's kind of a pain in the butt when we're talking about 30, 40, 50 pages worth of CSS code just to handle 5 or 6 different buttons. To me, it's crazy. It's useless. So what I do for speed and accuracy is I do a lot of inline stuff. Even if I have to do this, if I do the same thing over and over and over again, like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times, then I'll create, an actual style. So let's do this. We'll do a style tag quickly while we're in here. We're talking about this. So we'll do a style, and we'll call it .j, and then we'll actually open up the style. And the style itself is going to do this right here. So we're actually going to do this within the style. Beautiful. And we'll get rid of this. All right. So now what I actually do is I'm going to call the class equals j. There. So now inside of, because I use that there and over here, let's actually pull this up here. Sorry. I forgot to add the width tag. Because I use it twice, instead of using the style tag and put the same stuff twice, because I'm going to use it multiple times, I'm actually just going to call the class equals, J. I'll call that class. So what I did essentially is I created a style class, and I'm going, as long as I'm going to use it many, many times, it's good to create the style class and use it over and over again. So now when I save it, it's going to come back here. We're going to notice that now this actually inherits that class, and that table down there stays the same. So we actually, by calling the class, we actually adjust the table to inherit the class. So now if I want to make a change to, say, instead of 2 pixels, I want to make it 5 because I really like my border and I'm crazy like that. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to refresh this, and wow, the border just got thicker. Ooh. So my life is awesome. And I did it for both tables, not just one, because they call class J, because I created one class. The same concept as functions is the same with class, but that's if you're going to use the same one over and over again. If both tables differ and they don't use that same exact code, then what I would advise is I would actually advise just doing the inline style tag instead of that. So let me just see. I want to take a quick look at one thing. Yellow. Alright, so there. Let's see if we can override just this one with yellow. So, oops, sorry. I didn't want background. I wanted border to be solid. Solid. 5px yellow. Don't do that to me. Alright, so there. So we can actually override the class inline with the style tag. We can override each one. So where this is 5 red, we did 5 yellow. Let's just change it to a 2 yellow, and then come over here. Now you see that we actually shrunk that. So we can still inherit the class and then override each individual piece within the style tag inside of it individually. So if you want to use like 45, say you're going to use 90% of that, you want to keep the same look, but you want to override each one individually, we can do that here, at least here inside of the Edge, the Microsoft Edge browser. At least it works. Whether this actually did override works in the other browsers, I'm not too sure. First time actually seeing the override. I generally don't use style classes because, as I said, I don't work on the style, making it look really that pretty. I do just phonetically like this. I send this out, and I tell the design and development team, go nuts. This is your job. This is what we pay you for. So then they do all the bells and whistles, like the prettiness looking. I make the drop menus. I put the drop menus where I want the drop menus, and then they just make it. They add the colors and the graphics to it. So if I want a drop menu and I want the menu to say specific stuff, I'll actually create the menu and the drop down here, and then they already have their own logo that they use, and they have their own quality logos. So I just put the word logo and let them do that, but I actually develop the menu itself, and I'll put the text in here, and then I'll put the copyrights here, and I'll type it in, and then they'll go, when they do the font change, they'll change the font on those to make it look good. So they'll spend a little bit of time to make it look good. I spend a lot of time to make it work. So pretty much that's on CSS styling and just centering stuff, using tables to make your page look good. If there's any comments or questions, please leave them below. Let me know. Like this video if you really like it. Woohoo, that'd be great. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next one.